Hello, legit KidLit viewers. I'm Tiffany.
And I'm Alexis. Laura Shovan is a novelist, educator, and poet, and she is joining us today, and I'm a little bit starstruck here. Um, Thank you so much, Laura, for joining us. She's an award-winning middle grade novelist of books Last Fifth Grade of Emerson Elementary, Takedown, and the Sydney Taylor Notable, A Place at the Table, written with Sadia Faruqi. Her latest book is Welcome to Monsterville, which was pubbed just a few weeks ago and illustrated by Michael Rothenberg.
Yes,
Thank you so much for having
monsters.
me.
Woohoo!
Yes, thank you.
So, monsters, we all know them. We've been taught to fear and even hate them. The monsters under the bed, in the closet, beneath us, in the basement, or above us in the attic. They've all been given a bad reputation. But in Welcome to Monsterville, award-winning author Laura Shovan and illustrator extraordinaire Michael Rothenberg introduce us to their monsters and help us to reckon with our own monsters too. Together, they show us through art and poetry that our monsters are deserving of empathy and acceptance. I just love that. And that was written way better than I could even say it. So whoever wrote your educator's guide did a wonderful job.
I just want to give a shout out to Tracy Willis.
Yay.
She's the educator who wrote the guide, and yeah, she's fantastic. So she gets credit for that.
Awesome. Thank you. So we asked you, Laura, to come with a bag about 5 items that connect to your book. And as you introduce them, you're going to share a poem and explain how these items connect to your book. We're really excited to hear.
I think maybe I'm going to share the poem first, and then I can talk about the items. So first, I have to show you the monster, which is this one.
I love that. Oh, let me see if I can
wish I had the original artwork out, but I don't have it handy at the moment. Oh, thanks. That's good.
Beautiful.
Okay, so this is the monster, and here is the poem. The Monster of Costa va Blink. High on a mountain called Costa va Blink, there lives a shy monster who knows how to shrink. Disguising herself as a round speckled pebble, she holds in her breath and tries not to tremble when humans pass by on their bikes in their cars, hiking and shouting, ignoring the stars. She waits till they're gone, then with a soft sigh, she grows herself huge and opens one eye. High on a mountain called Costa va Blink, a monster needs quiet and starlight to think. So I'm going to ask you to snap, because that's what I have my students do, is we snap when we like a poem, because poets are cool.
Oh, yes.
All right, I'm just going to go into I want to show you my bag first. Kensington Day of the Book Festival was a couple weeks ago. All right, I'm just going to kind of feel around and see what I have in here. Let's see. I have brought with me today, first of all, it's a not quite Lego. I brought a little bike, a little person, little dude on it. This comes from one of my building brick sets. So that represents the humans. I was actually, when I was writing the poem, my brother lives near Boulder, and I've been hearing from my brother's family that in that area of Colorado, everybody is so outdoorsy that it's actually really hard to be on a trail without bumping into lots of people. Mm-hmm. So I was thinking about that when I wrote the poem. And let's see, I have my round speckled pebble. That's way.
Cool.
That's I think it's a lapis stone. And let's see what else. All right. So speaking of monsters, I'm going to show you. This is one of my brothers, same brother, one of his favorite artists. His last name, I think his first name is Mark Busta. So this is the open one eye.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's a cool little monster. We really like that artist. And oh, this is cool. A few years ago, I participated in this thing during National Poetry Month, where poets would send each other postcards with a poem on the back. And one poet named Miriam Todd sent me this handmade postcard.
Wow.
and I just like, for me, this really captures the vibe of the poem, how peaceful it is, the stars in the background, no people. So I think the monster of Kostova Blink would really like this
Yeah.
scene. I think she would unshrink herself to go out into this environment. So that's that one. And then I have another handmade thing. This is a little book a friend made for me. And on this page, she put this quote, which I'd like just for the book in general. It's a quote from Albert Einstein. "It is better to believe than to disbelieve. In doing so, you bring everything into the realm of possibility." And I feel like, Michael and I were kind of working in this space of being open to what's possible when we were working on the monster art and poems.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing all of those things.
You're welcome. Thank you for that's such a good question. Nobody's ever asked me a question like that before. So I really liked thinking about what I was going to gather and bring in the bag.
That was fun. Can you talk a little bit about the collaboration between you and the illustrator artist, Michael Rothenberg?
Yeah. So Michael was a poet and an activist, and I knew him through a program he started called 100,000 Poets for Change. And we got to be very good friends. A few years ago, his son passed away, and he was really having, very, very deep grief, of course, and was unable to write, and turned to art therapy as a creative outlet because he was just a very creative person. And I had been to visit Michael and his wife in Tallahassee right before the pandemic in January of 2020. And he'd shown me some of his artwork that he was doing for art therapy. And then when I got home from my trip, he sent me this picture, which was so different because most of his artwork was really abstract. And what came into my inbox was this.
Wow.
And I was like, whoa, that's Michael, that's really different. And so basically to cheer him up, I wrote a poem about that monster. And in the poem, it imagines that there's a kid who has this monster moving in next door. And the kid is like, how do I handle this situation? Like, am I going to reach out and be friendly? Am I going to close my door and run away? And I sent Michael the poem, and he really liked it. And was like, now what monster am I going to do next? So he sent me another one, and I wrote another poem. And just because Michael was a creative force, he really was one of these people who was always encouraging other people's creativity and had his own projects going on. Pretty quickly, he was asking me, well, could this be a book? How many monsters do I need to draw for us to have a book? And he finished the 16 monsters way before I finished the poems. I was so much slower than he was. He was just like really in touch with something really, I would say something deep inside him that allowed him to access these monster drawings. So it was very special because by the time we were rolling on this project, it was the pandemic and we were in lockdown. And yet Michael and I were having Zoom phone calls and also messaging each other. And we ended up having this whole conversation about the creative process and, the parts of our brain that we have to access and the parts of our brain that we have to turn off or quiet when we want to create something without, judging it before it's even on the page.
I love that. Such a beautiful collaboration between the two of you.
Yeah, it was a real gift. And as I was saying to both of you earlier, Michael passed away in the fall. So I feel like I have this special thing. I mean, we all have this special thing, but I just especially treasure those messages. I saved the messages between us and I go back and read them and just think about what a great conversation we were able to have about the creative process. It was a real gift to me.
That's beautiful. So, all of your books come with educator guides, which we love. Why is this important for you?
Well, I started my career in education. I will tell you guys, I don't share this very often, but I will tell you, I was, when I was a teenager, I went to this like very hippy dippy summer camp. And one year when I went there, they didn't offer creative writing. And I was livid. Like, how could you not have creative writing? And I don't know. I think somebody said to me, well, why don't you teach that class? So, write up a proposal. And I did. And I think I was 17. I must have been 17. Wow. So I taught this class for my peers in creative writing. And I ended up, after I got my bachelor's, going straight to graduate school and getting a master's in teaching. So I taught high school for 5 years. And I think just education has been a big part of my life. Obviously, I mean, we all go to school, but teaching has been a big part of my life since I was a teenager. And I want to recognize that, yes, we read books for pleasure, but we also read books to learn. And I want to make it easier for educators to share books in the classroom just by giving some ideas or some inspiration or things to think about. And because I know teachers are, always looking for resources. And just coming from a place where when I was a young teacher, like I really appreciated the other educators who were sharing materials with me, because I was scrambling. As you know, when you're a first year teacher, you're like, oh my gosh. And that's why having the educator's guides are important to me. And, I'll share with you both. Sometimes when you're an author, you're lucky enough that the publisher will create an educator's guide for your book, which is awesome. That doesn't always happen. So I was telling you, Tracy Willis wrote the educator's guide for Welcome to Monsterville. So I use this company called Room 228. They're fantastic. They put together great educator's guides. So that's why I have one for all of the books.
I absolutely love, I was looking through the educator's guide the other day and today. And I mean, there are Common Core standards, there are discussion questions, there's an activity that you can interview the monster, and even more, like just it's continuing as I'm looking through. Yep, there it is. All of these beautiful resources. And for me as an educator, when I see a book that has an educator's guide that goes with it, I immediately go look at it, see if I can somehow incorporate that into my class. And this has like multiple days, multiple, even probably weeks of content that's beautiful and amazing. And I think will really get kids and teachers and maybe even family members at home really involved. So, I'm excited for it. And I hope that everyone else is as well. We are going to link the educator's guide below in our YouTube description. So definitely go check that out. And then there's another activity. What was it called? Make Your Own Monster, I believe.
Make Your Own Monster.
Make Your Own Monster activity sheet. Definitely going to do that with my students also. So thank you for all of these great resources. Speaking of, can you tell us a little bit about Poetry Fridays and how teachers could use that as a classroom resource?
Yes, I'm so glad you asked. So I've been involved with Poetry Friday, which is a blogging community since 2008. And every week, I would say somewhere between 30 and 40 people. They're educators, children's authors, poetry fans, will post on their blogs something poetry related. And one person is the host for the week. And so you can go to that one person's page and find the links to everything. It's sort of like scan through and see what you're interested in. And there are book reviews, there are original poems, there are poetry projects, there are favorite poems. It really runs the gamut. I will say that if you're on Facebook and you're part of Nerdy Book Club, this April, I do a poetry chat for Nerdy Book Club every April, and for National Poetry Month. And this month's chat was with a group of people from Poetry Friday, kind of going over how to use it as a resource and what it is and all of that. So that video is on the Nerdy Book Club page if you want to take a look. For me, it's just a great way to be in the know about what's happening in children's poetry at the moment. I think especially knowing what books are coming out. And also one Poetry Friday blogger and her business partner, Sylvia Vardell and Janet Wong, have developed this into a series of books, the Poetry Friday book series. And the point of their books is to encourage teachers to have some time, even if it's 10 minutes, for poetry every single Friday. So, it's a great community, and I've made wonderful connections through it. I think people like Irene Latham is involved in Poetry Friday, if you know that author. I'm trying to think of, why am I blanking on people's names right now?
That's what happens.
Another poet named Buffy Silverman. There's a woman named Heidi Mordhorst who's starting up an online poetry magazine that younger children can submit their work for to have the experience of being published. So it's just a fantastic resource, and I hope that more people will go and check it out. And the Poetry Friday schedule is available on a blog called Another Year of Reading by Mary Lee Hahn. So if you look at her blog, you can see the schedule of who's the host for the week.
Awesome. Wow. That's a lot of things to go and check out after you finish watching this episode. Well, we are nearing the end here, but we are excited because you're going to lead us through a monster doodle. Is that right?
Yes, I'm going to do a monster doodle with you. So I don't have a cool artist setup, so we're just going to do my doodle board here.
Perfect.
Yay.
It's cool enough for us.
So what I found was when I started taking Welcome to Monsterville into the classroom is that kids, when we were writing poems together, it was really, really helpful before writing to draw a monster. And so drawing first, identifying, kind of like letting what comes come, and then identifying what your monster is feeling, and then writing a poem about it, or whatever kind of writing you want to do about it. I do want to say I adapted my Make Your Own Monster worksheet from an author friend named Jonathan Roth, who is a chapter book artist, author-illustrator. So the Beep and Bob books, and he has a new series called Speck and Rover. So I borrowed this from Jonathan. Just want to give a shout out to him. So basically what I'm doing is I'm looking at the shapes up here, or I could make my own shapes. And I'm just gonna, let's see, I have it in my mind right now because we were talking about one eye. So I'm gonna do a monster with one sleepy eye. I'm gonna hold my table down. Oh. And let's see, I'm gonna do I see a shape over here for a nose? I'm gonna do a nose from my shape sheet. This is gonna be the nose. And let's see, is there anything here? Do I want to do that mouth? I'm going to do that mouth. I'm going to borrow from the sheet. So do some lips. Okay. And now what shape head do I want my monster to have? I'm really fond of this sort of monster shape. And I think I'm going to just do a roundish body. So there's my monsters coming along, everybody.
I love it.
Let's do some arms. I'm going to do, this is an arm shape. It's not on the sheet, but it is in the book. So I'm going to borrow this sort of arm shape from one of the monsters in the book. And when I get here, I'm starting to think about, I don't know if you can see, I'm starting to think about things like details. So I want to give my monster some claws, I think, today. And I'm going to go like that. And it doesn't have to be perfect, obviously. I'm just sort of letting the ideas come as they come. And not worrying too much, like I have a picture in my head and the monster has to match the picture in my head. I'm really just more like plopping a whole bunch of shapes together and seeing if I like what happens. I think I'm going to give my monster some legs. I don't know if you'll be able to see these. And I'm going to draw some feet. And I feel like my monster needs something in the middle. I think, I don't know, here, can you see the whole thing? Yeah, there you go. Yep. I feel like, do you guys have a suggestion? What should monster have in the middle of their belly? Any ideas?
Ooh. I can't get over the fact that I'm wanting to give the monster slippers, but that's just in my mind right now.
Let me do that.
Fuzzy slippers. That's what I'm thinking of.
Oh, that's cute.
So we'll do that. So at this point, now that I have the shape, definitely, we can start thinking about things like details. So
maybe a bathrobe.
Oh, that would be so much fun. I think what you're tying into here is that this monster, I think because of the closed eye.
Sleepy.
Yeah. So that one little choice of the closed eye is giving us an emotion. All right, let me see if it's reminding me, I was visiting my mother down in Florida, and she had some new, she's an artist too, so she had some new paints, and I was like, Mom, I want to play with those paints. She said, okay. And I drew a monster, of course, and I got a little, like, I don't know, I got stuck with the details. And I said, hey, Mom, would you like to finish this monster for me? And oh my gosh, I wish I could show you the monster that she drew. It had...
it's on your website, right?
Yeah, it's on my Instagram. It has like pearls and a gold cape and a belt. And then she surprised me so much because she wrote a whole poem about how the monster is very empowered about her looks, even
That's
though
right.
She has a pig snout.
With the snout nose, yep.
Yeah, and so...
I love it.
So she had so much fun with it, and it was really special. Okay.
Yeah.
Here's the monster. Here's our sleepy monster. What do you think?
I love it.
Me too.
Oh my gosh, it's so cute.
Part of what I really like about this process is, like I said, I was talking with kids yesterday at a school about what happens when you have a picture in your mind of what the end product is going to be. That it's going to be this beautiful image of, a unicorn, or you're going to write this poem about this thing you saw. And we can never get there. Once we start working on the page, we're never going to reach that thing in our head and have it come out perfectly. And that's something that artists have to contend with a lot, is always negotiating with the perfect thing that exists only in your head and what you're able to produce on the page. So part of what I like about this process is we're getting rid of that, like the perfect image in our head, and coming to the page and just playing. And I think there's room for both of those things to happen, but I think we need to spend more time on this piece and just letting what comes come and see what comes up. Like, I was definitely not thinking of a sleepy monster. I was just thinking I wanted to do one eye. And I love the bathrobe. Thank you for that suggestion.
I love it. That turned out so fun.
Yeah, she's really cute.
Well, this was such a valuable episode, and I just hope that educators out there watching are able to find a little nugget of something to do in their classroom, or the whole thing. It was amazing. Thank you so much for joining us today.
It was so nice of you both to invite me, and it was a really fun conversation. So I'm going to treasure my monster.
Yes. We
will all of our readers, we hope you enjoyed our show and are inspired to pick up Laura's book. We will be back next weekend with more KidLit fun. Yay! Welcome to Monsterville. See you later.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.